How could I have been humbled going blind at age 10? I was one of those kids that needed daddy, but daddy wasn't there. So at age 10, when blindness did come in PG County, I wasn't ready. And that's when the rebellion started, deeply. A child that can't see, a child that doesn't want to learn. So the school system said to my grandmother, Mother Bonds, there's no hope for your grandson. You're holding him back. You need to allow us to take him out of public school, institutionalize him in a school that is specifically for the blind only. Otherwise, your grandson will never have a future, never had a chance at an independent life. But Grandma, who was a God-fearing woman, hallelujah. Grandma said fervently, I don't believe you. Grandma dropped out of school in grade 10, but she said, I don't believe you. Grandma knew nothing about technology, but she said, I don't believe you. She said, I want him to stay in mainstream school. Because despite what you see, despite that I see a child who has gone blind and can't see, a child who knows nothing because he doesn't want to learn, despite what you see, I see a future rich in Jesus. Hallelujah. Romans8:18, my grandmother saw that past the suffering of that moment, that there is glory that should not be compared to what I was going through in that situation. But they told Grandma, you don't know what you're talking about. You're holding him back. This child will be nothing unless you send him to a school for the blind. And Grandma fought and said, no, you keep him in a school with regular children and you bring the technology there where he's supposed to be and watch God work in his life. Hallelujah. But year after year after year, age 10, age 11, age 12, Mario's getting mediocre grades. And we even moved from PG County and moved to Fairfax County in Virginia. And those people said the same thing to Grandma. He needs to go to a school for the blind, Miss Bonds. This is not going to work for him. He's not getting it. He's not getting it. So now she got a whole new set of people. PG County, it was the black folk. And Fairfax County, now it's the white folk. On both sides telling Grandma that your grandson is destined for nothing because of you. But still, Grandma stood fast in her faith. And she said the same thing. The boy has a good brain. Now, Grandma, how do you know that? Nothing's coming home but bad grades. The boy has a good brain. Grandma, how do you know that when I still haven't learned to read Braille? The boy has a good brain. Grandma, how do you know that when nothing is working out? And then at some point, something clicked. Grandma's faith and the realization of what God had in store changed my life. I was introduced to technology. And then suddenly, everybody realized that technology was something that I understood. It was this language that I could speak. So that quickly, the same folk in Fairfax who was telling Grandma he needs to go to a school for the blind, they were using me to teach the other blind kids how to use computers within a year. That's God. But our home life was still full of turmoil. At the time in Fairfax, we were living in a motel. And then at some point, we moved back to PG County, and I ended up with the same teachers who saw me in elementary school. And of course, they said, oh God, Mario's back. But watch how God works. Pretty soon, they saw that I could read and write Braille, and they saw that I had moved on from reading and writing Braille and using talking computers. And they too had me training the other blind kids on how to use technology. That's the impossibility. Now at age 16, I unfortunately had to make the tough decision to leave my grandmother, and I left home. And I was taken in by a high school friend's mother. Now, for the first time, the newfound Mario could experience a level of stability that I had never known before. I didn't have to worry about where I was going to lay my head. And at that point, I had a thirst for knowledge and an insatiable want to succeed. I was 16 years old, and I knew that more than 50% of blind high school students don't graduate. But I had grandma's faith at this point. Hallelujah. I said my dad chose his grief over his children. But one thing my grandmother did is she made sure that I knew who Jesus was. Hey, so that at 16 years old, I started planning for churches to save money. And at 16 years old, I said I would get into college or die trying. Now again, 50% of blind high school students don't graduate, let alone go on to college. And in this country, 85% of people who are totally blind like me are unemployed. So at 16, a risk, I submitted an application to 2 colleges all by myself, and I said I'm going to work it from every angle possible. Every angle possible. I spent a lot of time at home writing poetry, so I sent in 100 poems. Come on. I think they were good poems too. One of them simply said, although I spend time in darkness, the light never stops calling me. Hallelujah. I sent it to George Mason. So when the approval letter came, hallelujah. When the approval letter came, I knew that something was happening. So the new family I lived with moved me into college, and I went through George Mason with my first guide dog and got to the end and got a degree in communications. That's why I speak well, right? And then after that, I said, God, help me land a job in the federal government, Lord Jesus. God said, I'll do you one better. I'll make you a federal contractor so you can make more money than the federal workers. Look at how God does. But let me back up. I went blind at age 10. Was rebellious for several years with bad grades. Something that I discovered this morning in my story, and all of you missed, is how did I graduate on time at age 17? Remember, they told Grandma that it wouldn't be possible.
Amen. Come on.
They told Grandma that it would not be possible.
That's right.
But I quickly found out that in Jesus, hallelujah, all things are possible. Anything is possible in the name of Jesus. So that what they thought was impossible, Jesus stepped in and said, I will show you it's possible. For I am the author and the finisher. Hallelujah. I am in charge of his life. I am the Lord. I have all power in my hand. I am the author and the finisher. And in me all things are possible. He's blind, but he's my child. He's going through, but he's my child. He's weak at this moment, but he's my child. He looks like he's going to be nothing, but he's my child. He looks like there's no finish line, but he's my child. They say 50% of people like him won't make it, but I say let the last be first. He is my child. I will elevate the least of them. He's my child. They say that 85% of people who look like me, who are like me, are unemployed, but that has never been my story. He is my child. All things are possible. Hallelujah. 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 And so I sit and I say, well, how would Grandma possibly know that? She didn't have knowledge that goes past the 10th grade. She didn't know how to use a computer. But they call it, they say, oh, she has blind faith. She has blind faith, blind faith, blind faith. Well, let me tell you something. I'm a living witness that Jesus can change any circumstance if you hold on to his unchanging hand. Jesus will step in when man closes the door. Forget about him opening a window. They always say that, but I say if man closes a door, Jesus will open the garage door and it'll be bigger than you could ever imagine. Jesus will open the door. Jesus can stop the doors from closing. Jesus will unlock the door and throw away the key so that no man can return and take you out. God is an ever-present help in my life. So Romans 8:18. Why that scripture? Why that scripture? Why that scripture? Let Mario break it down what it means in my life. Says that I went through a lot of suffering in my life. I just described all of it. Sometimes I go through suffering today. But it takes a lot of faith to live the rest of that scripture that says it's not worth being compared to the glory that shall be revealed to us. Grandma knew what my glory would turn out to be because she knew the God that she served. I found out the glory that was possible because I'm living it. I was homeless. Yes, I was. But at 31 years old, I owned my own home. I went blind and I should have been a statistic. But at 31 years old, I'm independent. I was molested. You can name it. I can go through the list. But I look like the sovereignty and the safety that lives in Jesus Christ. Is there anybody here who knows what I'm talking about this morning? Has anybody ever been through a storm? Has anybody ever been through a hurricane and found that God was waiting in the hurricane side? Hallelujah. Has anybody ever seen God work an impossibility into a possibility? If you have, stand on your feet this morning and praise your God like you know He's real. Praise your God like you know He's real. Praise your God like you know He's real. Praise Jesus like He's done something for you. Hallelujah. If you believe in Romans 18:8 that your present situation looks nothing like your tomorrow, praise your God. If you have experience going from nothing to something, praise your God. If you have managed to have joy while you were going through, praise your God. Praise your God this morning. Hallelujah. Praise your God. Hallelujah. I thank Jesus for who He has been in my life. Jesus took it a step further in terms of the life that I am living now. Romans 8:18.
Romans 8, verse 18 reads, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us."
Read it again, please.
For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
And one more time with the fervor of Christians.
For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
Amen. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of His word.